you on the recommended daily dose of, let's say, vitamin D, an IUD, for males in their early 30s. What this will do, okay, in addition to reading the Claude.md to get context about this whole thing, is it'll go through and it'll read this literature research skill. If I open this up so that we can all see, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to query like this database, which I'm suggesting that it queries. So this database, I think, was called PubMed. After that, it's going to analyze using this little deep review script. And you'll notice that, if I make this big again, it made some mistakes here, right? For whatever reason, the first query did not actually work fine. But, it ended up redoing it over and over and over again until it figured it out. And so this is the orchestration aspect that I'm talking about. You can give it a checklist, but obviously not everything goes right perfectly. Because not everything goes right perfectly, you need to give it some flexibility in order to do your tasks. And that's what it's doing right now, right? It's gone through and it's, gone and created a bunch of literature review based information for me. Why would I use this versus, let's just say, telling Claude to go find that information? Because I've already just put in the, infrastructure to query specific databases that I really like. I've taught it how to run parallel queries so I can do this research in a tenth of the time. I've taught it to use models that might be a little bit less capable, but might have much longer context windows and so on and so forth. And so this enables you to find a workflow that works really, really well, and then just consolidate it and then do it the same every time. This is why I no longer hire. I mean, my businesses collectively still make over $300-something thousand per month right now in profit. That's a lot of money. I don't have staff members to do these things for me anymore. Anytime I want anything done, I'll just tell Claude to do it with one of these skills. Because to be honest, it's the exact same thing anyway. I would have just hired a contractor to do this sort of literature research. I would have hired a contractor to do my lead scraping. Why do I have to wait around a whole day or two for them now? If I could just execute a skill to go do the thing, retrieve me the results, and then, I don't know, maybe feed it into another skill in 100th of the time for like 100th of the cost. Okay, so while all of this is occurring in this tab and I'm doing that research, why don't I show you guys how to actually create a skill in practice? To make a skill, it's really straightforward. You basically just give it like a bullet point list of things that you want it to do. So I'm going to say, today we're creating a skill. And why don't I just use my voice transcript tool? That's way easier. This skill will design websites in a format that I really like using a template that I really like. I want the websites designed very similarly every time because I'm going to use them to pitch people. In short, what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you a bunch of information about a prospect, and then I want you to design a website using a specific template. The template I'm going to supply you is this one. And then what I'm going to do is, how earlier we went through godly.website, and then we found a template that we really liked. Well, I'm just going to scroll through and I'm going to find a template that I really like. So scrolling through, I don't know, I just want this to be a simple website that I could use for, let's just do dentists hypothetically right now. So I'm going to go over here and then I like this build in Amsterdam one. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I think that's it, honestly. I think I'm just going to screenshot this and I'll just make one pager for Claude. Just going to screenshot it. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my anti-gravity and then paste it. I want you to use screenshot functionality to mirror the style of the website. I'm also going to paste in some of the HTML so you can use that to create a style guide, etc. You'll receive as input like a Google Sheet with information about a prospect, and then you just create a website that matches. Find web images using publicly available sources. Make sure it's really pretty. And follow the template as closely as possible. Then I'm going to go on the website. I'm going to, let's just make it really wide because sometimes websites are different. And then what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to copy all of this, which is really, really long, right? I'm just going to paste it in. So that's going to be huge. It's going to be a lot of stuff to paste, 474 lines. And then, anything else that we need to do? I don't think so. I guess I just need to give it an example of some of the input. So I'm going to go and then find that Google Sheet that we just had with a bunch of dentists. Then I'm just going to copy all of this information. Then I'll say example of the data, and then I'll paste that in. Okay. So, I just fed in a tremendous amount of information here, right? Like this is really, really big. But with our little fast mode, plus, some pretty precise instructions, I think we can probably generate a cool skill in just a couple of minutes that does this sort of thing automatically. And after this, I'll have a system where I can basically just feed in a Google Sheet, and then I can generate a beautiful customized website for a prospect in like 2 seconds, which has information about them that clearly is customized and so on and so forth. And then I can just give it to them as sort of a lead magnet or something. That sounds pretty fun. And it's already gone through and it's done some stuff. Now I'm not using plan mode for this, but you absolutely can. I just wanted to one-shot a skill with this fast mode just so that I could do something while I was waiting for the literature review to finish. As you can see, it's loaded in the skill pattern and structure from the other skills as well as the Claude.md. And now it's just going to ask me some information. So where should the output of the skill be? A local HTML file? Yeah, let's just use local HTML for now. How will you provide prospect data? We'll just do Google Sheet URL. For images, which approach do you recommend? Yeah, sure, let's do the Unsplash API. Should the website be a mock-up of what their business site could like, or a pitch page about your services? Mock-up of their site. Cool, that looks great. So that's sort of its plan mode analogy, and this actually initiated plan mode without me even having to ask, basically. If I just make this a little bigger so you could see the entire chat. This went through and then turned on plan mode like on its own. I didn't even have to ask it to. And that's what occurs sometimes when you do bypass permissions. It'll just choose to create a plan for a more complicated software build. Cool, and now I'm going to bypass permissions and we're going to go. While that's occurring, just scrolling through this literature review. Looks pretty cool. Gives me a bunch of information, apparently 1 to 2,000. So that looks pretty fun. Okay, and then this looks like the little demo that we put together. This is a pretty basic demo. I'm not that big of a fan, to be honest, so I think we're going to have to go do some back and forth. Still, we did build a website in just a few seconds for them, which is kind of neat. Okay, it's now going to take a screenshot of this page for us. And as you can see, it's now accumulated like 19 or 20,000 tokens, which is kind of cool. Here's what we got. Full viewport hero. Okay. So I'm just going to say, not a very big fan of the website design. I don't think this matches the website. I'd like you to get pixel perfect accuracy by screenshotting the comparison back and forth. Go find some library that allows you to do this as necessary. In terms of Unsplash, how are you currently getting your images? Let's just do that. That's fine. I don't really want it to go, force me to get an API key or something like that. I'm just going to have it run. Okay, that's looking a lot better than what we had before. I like this. Looks like it took some photos of areas that were similar to where this place is located. And as we scroll through, we obviously have the information and the template and stuff. I don't like how a lot of these images are the same. So I'm just going to say, nice job. I don't like how all these images are the same though. Get different images. Looks really clean. We even have like their phone numbers and stuff like that. So we're now capable of basically like one-shotting a website for somebody. And as you can see, we can generate these super, super easily and very quickly. What I'll do now that we have this is realistically, I'm going to try it with one row and then just see how quickly it can put together the site for me. Cool. Now I'm going to test it with some new information. And let's see how quickly it can put that together. Cool, we've now done the same thing with Bennington Dental Center, so that's neat. We have some images generated and stuff like that. It is telling me that the reason why we have images of dogs and stuff is because I don't want to supply my Unsplash API key. If we do, then obviously they'll be much more dentally oriented. I think that's fine. Hopefully you guys get the idea. You could build stuff like this really quickly. In this case, it took 30 seconds. So, I mean, like what we could do if we wanted to like build this out as a service and like actually just like generate custom websites for people, send them out and so on and so forth. We could turn the skill into a sub-agent, which I'll show you guys how to do later, where basically we can spin up 10 of these simultaneously and basically in parallel just generate 10 every 30 seconds. That's a per website generation time of about 3 seconds. And so now that we're generating them every 3 seconds with customized information, matching widths and heights and stuff like that, making it really custom and sexy, you could do 10,000 leads in approximately 30,000 seconds. I don't know how long that would actually take. Let's see, 30,000 divided by 60 is 500. So it might take 500 minutes or 8 hours for a full 10,000 list. But yeah, combine that with the scraper, combine that with you sending people customized websites, and combine that with some other skills that I've set up to like automate the process of whipping up instantly campaigns and stuff. And hopefully you guys can see we get a pretty solid system in our hands. And that took me just a few minutes to put together. Now that we know all about skills, let's talk a little bit about the next logical thing, which is model context protocol. So now that you guys understand sort of how skills work, which to be clear, is that skills are basically like back-end functions that you can run, scripts almost, that use the flexible intelligence of AI and the procedural rigor of Python scripts and other programming tools to do the same thing every time, but also allow you the flexibility to error handle. So now that we understand that, let's chat about model context protocol. And so the way that I see it is these are just skills, except other people make the skills for you. And when I say other people, for the most part, it's like developer teams and stuff like that. Very similar idea. You're basically just giving your agent access to a piece of software, and then just like it calls its own tools like web search and bash and the Chrome DevTools MCP and the screenshot, all the stuff that we've already looked at. What we're doing here is we're just, we're just calling them, but somebody else is responsible for putting them together. Now that obviously begs the question, where do I get, MCPs? Well, you can just go on websites like mcpservers.org, model context protocol /servers, and then MCP market. I want you guys to know that not all of these are going to be 100% safe or secure. These are third-party libraries that people are putting together, basically, that try and tabulate the #1 MCP skills and so on, MCP tools and so on and so forth. But a lot of these are pretty well vetted at this point, and I'm going to show you at least a couple that I really like. The biggest one is probably the Chrome DevTools MCP. This is one that I use constantly, basically every day, many, many times, because it allows your coding agent to control and then inspect a live Chrome browser. In my opinion, it is significantly higher quality than any of the current browser tools that, Claude or other platforms have given us. So, I mean, I have this little Chrome extension here that I can actually use to control this instance of Chrome through this Claude tool. It's developed specifically by the Claude team. And I could say, hey, summarize this page. And then what it can do is it can copy all the text on this page. So it can extract the page text, and then it can take a screenshot of it. And then it can, tell me about it and so on and so forth. I can also have it do things like click. I could say, okay, star this on GitHub or something like that. And then I can give it some additional instructions, and then it can go through, look for the GitHub link. I don't know, maybe click it. And then now that, we have this thing open, it's going to go and it's going to try and star this puppy. So that's pretty cool. But you'll find that it also takes a fair amount of time. And the Chrome DevTools MCP bypasses that completely, and it's like 100 times faster. And not only is it 100 times faster, because you can weave it into skill-based scenarios, you can actually just run really, really procedural things in the browser that previously would have taken you like a fair amount of time to automate. So, I mean, I already have access to this right now, but for the purpose of this demonstration, let me just open up a new Claude instance in my terminal and then double check that fast mode is on. Okay, it looks like it is. All I would really do if I wanted to download the MCP for any tool really now is I would just paste in this definition, which you can find right over here. Okay. Basically, all MCP tools are going to have some sort of JSON that looks like this, where there's a curly bracket, it says MCP servers, it'll say the server name. There's a bunch of commands and args, which really don't matter whatsoever. But basically, you just go on whatever page of the MCP supplies this information. You copy this in. So if you want to install one, all you really do is you just paste in that little, JSON snippet that we saw earlier. And we say, I want to install this in my local workspace. It's important that you say local workspace here. What it's going to do is just going to grab that data and then install it for you. In my case, it's already installed, so I don't actually need to change anything. But now I'll say, great, run it. Now, sometimes when you're using a tool that requires authentication, what it'll do is it'll force you to go and grab an API key or an API token or something like that. So I'm going to show you guys an example of using a tool that requires some API credentials in a second. First, let's just say, okay, open and navigate to left click AI, then screenshot the site and tell me about it visually. So what it's going to do is it's going to open up that browser, going to navigate to leftclick.ai. Now it's going to take a screenshot, which I think it just did. Then it's going to read the screenshot, and then it's going to, give me some high-level stuff about the website. So, the header is a simple nav bar with the left-click logo. Case studies about links and a Let's Talk CTA button. Hero section is large, bold serif, right? Okay, great. Go to amazon.ca and find me a bunch of cheap but effective light boxes for my studio. So now I'm going to open this up. It's going to do the same thing with Amazon. I'm in Canada, hence the .ca, and it's going to start, pumping in various search terms for light boxes and whatnot. I don't know why Twilight is recommended to me. Must say something about my browsing history. Now it's going through, finding a bunch of light boxes and stuff like that. It's going to take screenshots of the page and then, deliver me a bunch of options that I could choose from. And you can see all this occur underneath the tool call. So these little green boxes little green circles, I should say, are tool calls. They have the specific name of the MCP over here, and then they have the tool that they're calling from the MCP over here as well. And what they're doing here is now that it's taking a screenshot and stuff like that, it's giving me summaries of all the information. Then it's even recommending a certain one. Now, a lot of the time you can also just type in the name of the tool you want and then the word MCP server. And a lot of these tools will actually have gone through and then created this stuff. That'll take me to the ClickUp page with MCP server setup instructions. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy over this stuff just like I did before. Okay. And then we're going to go back to my agent. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go install this MCP. I'm going to paste this in. This includes all of the details and documentation here. So first thing it's going to do is look for some sort of configuration file that's pre-existing. It's not going to find one, so it's going to go and then just make mine. Then eventually what it's going to ask me to do is go grab my API key. So I'll head over here to ClickUp API, and then I'm just going to copy my API token. I'll then confirm it, and then I can copy my token in, and then I'll go back here. Then I'll say, great, here's my API details. I'm going to feed that in. And then every time you install a new MCP server,